Being a single mom and doing it all by yourself is brutal. Learn the brain and energy tools to get back to your center and overcome your challenges. Welcome to Single Moms Doing It All. This is Muriel Felous, your host, and I hope you're doing amazing. This is take 2 of this episode because I recorded a full 20 minutes and I realized after fact that my mic wasn't plugged, so the sound wasn't okay. So this is take 2. Today we are going to talk about overreacting to your teenager stuff or being too harsh. And that links to the membership life coaching that we had this week on radical self-acceptance. I explained to you why. Before we go there, I want to remind you that unless you're listening to this episode on April 30th, the membership has closed and it will reopen sometimes toward the end of the year. So if you want to be put on the waiting list, so you're the first one to know, and you can take advantage of the certain bonuses that I'm gonna put at your disposal when we will be reopening. Don't hesitate, join that list. The truth is, as I said last week in the episode or the week before, I didn't really promote the membership enough, so it didn't really grow the way that it could have, and I wanted to renovate it, to make it new and to reopen it later in time when I really have time to address the marketing aspects of it, the new ideas also, to incorporate some stuff like, I don't know if you're in my group on Facebook, and if you're not, you may want to join because we do some live processes. It's also called Single Moms Doing It All if you're new to our platform. And I put a question there about, no, that was a live I think I did. I can't remember where I did it, if it's on my page or in my group. But anyway, it's on my personal page. So you can see that on my personal page, I put a post with a question. I'm in the process of creating tapping sessions to motivate us to do what we don't like doing. And that came from me remembering that I hate cleaning my windows. I don't know why. That's something that I just hate doing. So as I was putting myself in the mood to want to do it with a tapping session and brain tools, I thought, what? I also heard something about going to the dentist. Someone was scared. What if I was creating tapping sessions to put you in the mood to do laundry when you don't feel like it? Because sometimes you're tired. You've worked all day, you've taken care of everyone, and you know it has to be done. So what if you could have a tool to motivate yourself? I think that I thought it was a funny idea, so I'm going to do that just for the fun of it. And that will be part of the membership. Those things are new in what is going to be there. And meanwhile, I'm still here in the podcast to provide you with resources and to help any mom that needs help, because it's hard to struggle alone. And raising teens is not always easy. It actually can be brutal, especially when things are going on, that there are specific challenges or they're acting out, etc., etc. And I don't want any mom to struggle alone, like I did. when I ended up in depression. That's something that I don't want for moms. So if you know any mom who could benefit from the podcast, let them know. And the other thing is, please, if you like this podcast, if you find value in it, go on iTunes and review it. That's the way that I can rank higher and be discovered by moms. So that's it for the announcements. And now we're going to talk about our overreaction to our teenager stuff. So, have you noticed that there are certain things that you really, really react to with a lot of judgment and a lot of negative emotional charge? And maybe you have one or two that come to mind because they're always the same thing. Like, for me, laziness was one of them. And I'm not surprised that I attract moms who also struggle with that topic, that quality, laziness, because we attract, based on who we are. And I've been trained because from 0 to 7, we are like sponges. We learn the world around us based on what we see, what we hear, what people do to us. And we come as a whole with many, many qualities, traits, abilities, but based on the reactions of the adults around us and what they believe is okay or not, what they believe you should have permission to express or not, you are going to label some parts of you as unacceptable, as bad. And you're going to repress these things deep inside you into what we called, and that's Carl Jung's term, the shadow. And it's going to stay there. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't require a huge amount of energy for you to keep it there. And sometimes when you don't pay attention or when you're triggered, it's going to reappear on steroids. Like, for example, laziness. So I was raised by a father who used to be a school teacher. So not only did we have to do the assignments almost the day that it was assigned, well, I'm exaggerating maybe, the week, but way in advance. And he was checking until very late in my school career, because I was already a teenager. You had to do a lot. You had to work your rear off to not speaking French to you, like we say, excuse my French, in order for us to feel valued and to somehow believe that we deserved success and good stuff. So I became an extreme doer. And there was very small space left for laziness. I mean, we were allowed to play and everything. I didn't have a bad childhood, but I had to produce results. And so I have very high standards for myself. And laziness is not acceptable to me. Was not. So I had to really work with that. And the way that you can notice what you repress like that is because you project your beliefs on others, and you have an extreme reaction to it, an extreme judgment when you see people around you doing it. So if I see, let's say I've seen my teenager being lazy, which they are at this age, it's normal. And I have a very bad story that I'm telling myself about being lazy, like people who are lazy don't deserve success. People who are lazy won't succeed anyway. People who are lazy are losers. People who are lazy are not good people. Whatever the story that you tell yourself, and pay attention to it because it's going to appear in your head even when you think about it like that. If you ask yourself, what do I think about those people who are, and for me it's lazy, that was one of my triggers. Another one was lying. I had a very, very strong negative emotional charge to lying. What do I think about them? Of course, someone who lies to me doesn't deserve good things, um, is not honest, is not trustworthy. So, what is the story you tell yourself, and is that story true? If we talk about laziness, someone who's lazy, and let me rephrase that for you, because in every quality there is a negative side and a positive side. Lazy in the negative side would be someone who's being lazy instead of doing what they're supposed to do so that their life is functioning correctly. And the story I had for those people was loser, to put it in one word. But the other side of lazy is necessary rest. Being lazy enough to take some rest. And that's something that I've been struggling with for years, and I still need to watch in myself because I push myself so much that I end up in bed with a backache. So I've learned to, in French we say, lift the foot off the pedal and treat myself with more self-love, treat myself with more self-care, and not push myself as hard, and to take some moments of laziness, which before I used to label so bad. But it is necessary to sometimes just be, not do anything. And it doesn't anymore have a negative connotation. So what are your triggers? What do you react so strongly when you see your teen doing? And because you react in a overreaction, like disproportionately, you maybe are too harsh with them on that. You give consequences that are disproportionate to what's going on. You look at them with the eyes of being too harsh, too judgmental, having that negative story in your head that scares you or makes you angry. What are your triggers, and are you reacting in such a harsh way because it is something that you don't accept in yourself? That's where our life coaching came in place, into the picture, because it was about radical self-acceptance and accepting what you don't like in yourself and finding a way to reframe that, because there is always a way to reframe that. And the truth is, we come as whole and everything has its place. Anger has its place when it's expressed in a healthy way that doesn't hurt anyone. Laziness has its place. And lying, well, if it's someone who's not trustworthy and lies to navigate their life to avoid conflicts or obtain what they want at the cost of others, that's the unhealthy way of lying. But the healthy way to look at lying, there are two ways that I teach my clients and my students. First, if you have such a strong reaction to lies, you may push the bar too high. What I mean is, because you hate lying, You disclose too much to people who haven't earned your trust. You become too vulnerable in the name of ultimate truth. And that can put you in danger. That can put you in harm's way. Because some people don't have the best of intentions and they will use that against you. So, discernment. So, that's one way of looking at lies in a healthy way, in a way that supports you in your life. The other way is you hate lies, you can't stand it, people who do it, they're bad people, you wouldn't even look at them. Are you lying too? Where do you lie in your life? Are you doing white lies? Like scheduling with someone and then canceling at the last minute, inventing a reason because you never wanted to commit in the first place to start with, and you just don't know how to say no. It doesn't come from a bad intention, but you couldn't hold your first instinct, which was saying yes. And if that's the case, go visit my website because I have a tapping session on the homepage at the bottom about saying no with more ease. And that will help you immensely because that will deactivate the no at the level of your nervous system. And you may have to do it several times, but that's okay. I still sometimes struggle with saying no. It depends what's going on. It's less and less, but it's harder when it's somebody who's close to you. It's harder when it's something you really care about, etc. So, where do you lie? Because that has a cost too. When we lie to ourselves, there is a part of us that registers that. And we don't believe ourselves after that. So when we say, I'm going to succeed or I'm going to do that, there is a part of us that says, really? Really? Because usually when you talk, you don't always, your words don't always have value because, look, you commit and you don't go. So that's one of the costs. I talk about that a lot when I'm interviewed on entrepreneurship, like mompreneurs, and what can damage your business, what can block your creativity and your deservability, because they're all internal stuff. And the other way to look at it is, where do you lie to yourself by continuing to believe that something is other than what it really is? And that's true a lot in relationships. I know in the past, when I used to attract a lot of dysfunctional relationships, let's say I was dating someone and I wanted to believe that he was the one, he was a good guy and all that, despite the red flags. I was lying to myself. I was calling a dog. No, I wanted a dog because dogs are very loyal and all that. And I had a cat and I kept on wanting to dress that cat as a dog and it doesn't work. And I was lying to myself. And there was a part, a small, in the back of my head part that knew that I was lying to myself. And I love cats. I have a cat. Cats are way more independent and they don't do what you want them to do. They do what they want to do. And they even make us do what they want to do, us to do. So where do you lie to yourself? By not admitting that either something is not working, or maybe you need to do something that you don't want to do, like maybe going to the gym, work on eating healthier for your health, and of course, nothing to perfection, but what stories of lies are you telling yourself? And that's not to beat yourself up. Please, compassion. Just to examine and say, okay, what would a loving friend tell me? How would they show me in front of my nose that I'm lying to myself? Be that compassionate best friend to yourself. and start admitting that you lie too. Maybe not in the same way that your teenagers will lie to you, but you lie too. Because we all do in some ways. And sometimes it's not a bad thing. Sometimes, like I said, what we call lies because we omit a part of the truth is actually the safest thing to do when we're around certain people. So I hope that helps you to look at where are you projecting your unaccepted, unclaimed parts of yourself onto others with a very strong judgment about it, because you are not able to integrate those in yourself. And you labeled them wrong. And what story are you telling yourself? Because once you know that, you can relax a little bit with the consequences that you give your teen or teens that are sometimes disproportionate compared to what's going on. Because teenagers are going to be a little bit lazy, that's normal, they're going to lie. Also, maybe you have the only one angel on earth that never lies, but chances are they're going to lie. So relax about it. It doesn't mean you encourage them to lie, of course not. And it doesn't mean that you let them lie to your face, but relax about it. Desensitize your triggers and accept yourself radically. So that's what I wanted to cover today, because it's extremely freeing when you can accept all the sides of yourself. You stop being afraid that the whole world is going to discover that you're flawed and that you're not lovable. Because then you will really attract situations and people who won't be able to love you because you don't love yourself to start with. And it doesn't mean that you have to love those sides of you, the sides that you don't like so much. I mean, let me take that back. It doesn't mean you have to like them, but you're going to love yourself with them. You are lovable, even with them. That's freeing. You can stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself, I love you with your name, even with your, laziness. Even if you're lazy, I love you anyway. Even if you're lying, I love you anyway. Do you stop loving your kid because they lie to you? No. You don't like it, but you don't stop loving them. You deserve the same treatment. So, I wish you a wonderful, radical self-acceptance. I wish you to free yourself more and more and more each day. And I'll see you next time with another episode. Bye for now. Mwah. Being a single mom can be challenging, but you don't have to face it alone. Join our community at facebook.com/groups/single and doing it all, and receive tools, tips, and free group coaching. And if you like this podcast, please review and rate us on iTunes. I would really appreciate it.